I'm back. I just got cut off. I'm sorry. I wasn't watching in time. Um, but I do want to give you finish what I was saying because it kind of cut me off really weird. So I'm sorry. I was saying that if you ever have a line straight up and down, your slope is going to be undefined. We don't have a slope. It's uncalculable. You can't calculate it. Now, if we have a line side to side, that slope is always 0. Okay? Now, the last section in our book, let's go back to our book, says, that's not our book, says a formula. And you need to know this formula. It says rise over run is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what does that mean? X1, Y1, X2, Y2? What does that even mean? Well, let's look at the example. It says, find the slope of the line through point 1, 6, and 3, 4. So I have my point 1, 6, and my point 3, 4. Now, what you have to do is, I'm going to bring this up, and then we'll go back to the example. You have to say which one is point 1 and point 2, and honestly, it does not matter. You're going to get the same exact answer. You just have to designate which one is which. I'm going to say this is point 1, and this is point 2. Doesn't matter which one is which, but it is very important to know which one is which. Okay? Now, according to my formula, I'm going to plug everything in. These numbers down here stands for the point. So y from point 2. My y from point 2, remember, the coordinate is x, y. So my y from point 2 is 4 minus my y from point 1. My y from point 1 is 6. Remember, the second number is our y. So the y from point 2 minus the y from point 1, so we get 4 minus 6. Next one, x from point 2. The x from point 2 is 3, and then the x minus the x from point 1, which is 1. Now, I'm about to run out of space, so I'm going to come down here. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So our answer is negative 2 over 2, but wait, we have to reduce. Can we reduce this? 2 over 2 is 1. Now, we have 1 negative, so it stays negative, but our answer is negative 1. Let's see if that's what the example here gets. Scroll down. They got 1. Now, didn't we say slope is always a fraction? Well, isn't it true that negative 1 over 1 is the same thing as negative 1? Yes, it is. So sometimes we can reduce it to just be a number. But really it's a fraction that we've reduced all the way to a number. So our answer here is negative 1. Let's do example number 4. Notice we have different points. I'm going to keep the same fraction, the same equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And let's write down our points. Here we have negative 2, 4, and 3, negative 3. Now, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch up point 1 and point 2. I'm going to say this is point 2, this is point 1. Let's see if we get the same answer as in our book. Oh, let's see. I'm not going to show you the answer. If you're following along in your book, you may already know the answer. But let's plug it into our formula. Let's zoom in so that you guys can see. Let's plug it in. Y from point 2. Oh, look, point 2 is here. So the y from point 2 is 4 minus the y from point 1. Here's point 1 is negative 3. Okay? Now, x from point 2, we said this one is our point 2, so our x is negative 2 minus our x from point 1. Here's our point 1. Our x is 3. So Now let's solve. 4 minus a negative 3. Remember, subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. So 4 minus a negative 3 is the same thing as 4 plus 3, which is 7. 2 minus 3. Remember, it's the same thing as adding the opposite. So negative 2 plus negative 3 is a negative 5. So our answer can't be reduced. So let's see if this is what example number 4 got as well. Scroll on down here. They got negative 7 over 5. So no matter which you choose to be point 1 and point 2, it does not matter. What you have to do is say, okay, y from point 2, which one did I say was point 2? This one. So I need to take that y. Notice here is your ordered pair, negative 2, 4. Here is your ordered pair, 3, negative 3. So they have to be matching like that. So you have to make sure that you identify which one you're going to use for point 1 and which one you're going to use for point 2. Let's do skill check 3. I'm going to do the work on the board so that you can follow along with me. But pause and try and do it on your own. Negative 1, 6 and 1, 2. I'm going to say this is point 1, this is point 2. And for me, the way I work it is I always take the first point and use that as my point 1. So I don't try and confuse myself. This is the easiest way. So let's plug it into the formula. Y from my 2 is 2, minus y from my 1. Y from my 1 is 6. X from my 2 is 1, minus x from my 1 is a negative 1. So let's solve. Let's zoom in here. So 2 minus 6. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. 1 minus negative 1 is adding the opposite, is 2. Can this be reduced? Yes. Negative 4 over 2 reduces to negative 2. Raise your hand if you got negative. Well, can't raise your hand. Where are you? Hopefully you were able to get negative 2. Negative 2 is the answer to number 1. Let's look at number 2. We have the points 6, 3. I'm going to use that point 1. And we have the point negative 1, 1. That's going to be my point 2. Okay? So I'm going to take my y from 2 minus my y from 1. I'm going to take my x from 2 and subtract x from 1. So now let's solve. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 1 minus 6 is the same thing as adding the opposite. So negative 1 plus negative 6 is a negative 7. Now, watch. We have negative 2 over negative 7. What is a negative divided by a negative? Negative divided by a negative is a positive. If you ever have two negatives, then those go away, and your answer is 2 over 7. Wonder how many got that? That's a little tricky, but if you ever have two negatives, those negatives cancel each other out, and they become positive. So your answer is positive 2 over 7. Hopefully you guys got that correct. That does it for today's lesson. For the homework that I had you guys do, all you were doing is examples like this. But please feel free to reach out to me. I'll help you guys with anything that you need help with. If you need talk on the phone or through email or through Edmodo, whichever is easiest for you guys, I want to help you guys as much as possible. So please let me know, and I hope you guys have an awesome week.